Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsXWorld with me, Devika Devan, and here are the top headlines. German Foreign Minister Vadiful targets Moscow after massive drone attacks on Poland. He has stated that with the drone incursion into Poland, Russia has accepted an escalation. Meanwhile, Russia claims that the drones were launched by Ukraine. As Sébastien Lecornu takes office as the new French Prime Minister, sprawling anti-government protests continue. The clash has come as part of the Block Everything movement. Over 200 protesters have been arrested so far. After an airstrike targeted Hamas leaders in Qatar, Israel's ambassador to the US warns that if the leaders weren't killed this time, Israel will succeed next time. The strike has sparked fears it could derail ceasefire talks in Gaza, where Qatar plays a key mediation role. UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed has arrived in Qatar in a show of solidarity after Israel's airstrike in Doha. Meanwhile, Qatar says it has the right to respond to the strikes and has denounced it as a blatant attack. The International Atomic Energy Agency and Iran have reached a major breakthrough agreement to resume nuclear cooperation. This comes amid mounting pressure from Western powers threatening sanctions on Iran and after months of halted access to Iran's nuclear facilities. President Donald Trump says his administration is negotiating to remove trade barriers with India, and he will be speaking to India's Prime Minister in the coming weeks. Trump strikes a more optimistic tone, expressing hope the two sides can finalize a deal after weeks of friction. Amid the nationwide curfew in Nepal, its former Chief Justice Sushila Karki is likely to be appointed as the interim Prime Minister. Former PM KP Oli resigned from the post yesterday as protests took a violent turn. Our top focus remains Poland, which is on high alert after Russian drones entered its airspace during a strike on Ukraine. Polish Foreign Minister has said that the recent drone incursion was unprecedented and poses a threat to all of NATO. He confirmed the attack was planned, with some drones coming from Belarus. He added that Prime Minister Tusk has requested stronger air defense for Poland and expects US President Trump to back Polish safety with concrete actions. Russia's defense ministry has responded, saying that its strikes hit military targets in western Ukraine and that no attacks were planned on Polish territory. Officials claim that the drones have a maximum range of 700 kilometers, making their presence in Poland impossible. Despite the denial, Moscow said it is ready to hold consultations with Poland's defense ministry to address any concerns. The incident has sparked intense discussions among NATO allies on security measures and airspace defense. Meanwhile, we have some breaking news coming in. According to reports, US President Donald Trump is expected to speak with Polish President Karol Nawrocki on Wednesday. Officials say the call will focus on recent security concerns and NATO coordination. The White House is tracking the situation closely as allies assess the impact of the incident on regional defense measures. Mr. Reuben Johnson, Director of Asia Research Center, with us on the broadcast. Mr. Johnson, I have to begin by asking your first thoughts on how Donald Trump is likely to navigate this particular situation. He's just had talks with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. He was lining up for the talks between Russia and Ukraine in the coming weeks. Amidst that, there is now a clear sign that Poland believes there's been an escalation. Germany supports it. They have invoked the Article 4 of NATO. In your assessment, how exactly do you think Donald Trump will now navigate this current situation?
Donald Trump is finally figuring out that Vladimir Putin has never been a serious partner in trying to find a peaceful solution to the Ukraine war. And he's determining that Putin has literally gone out of his way to embarrass President Trump. So what I expect is an increase in military aid. I expect Donald Trump to institute a new packet of sanctions that have been put together and are ready to go into place affecting Russia. that would be in parallel with a new packet of EU sanctions. And I expect there's a great possibility that he will increase the tariff on India and possibly impose it also on China, a tariff of 100% for countries that are buying large quantities of Russian oil. That's what I think will happen, because I think he's running out of patience.
Okay, all right. Mr. Rubin, stay on with us as reactions continue to pour in the following after the drone incursion. Germany's defense minister has now confirmed Germany's support to Poland's decision to invoke NATO's Article 4. Listen in.
Luftraumverletzung, aber diese in besonderer Weise durch russische Drohnen ist inakzeptabel und ist eine gezielte Provokation, nicht nur gegenüber Polen, das muss man deutlich unterstreichen. Es ist eine Provokation gegenüber der gesamten NATO und gegenüber unserer europäischen Sicherheitsordnung. Der Bundestag gesagt, es gibt keinerlei Anhaltspunkte dafür, dass diese Drohnen aus Versehen in der Stückzahl auf dieser Route über polnisches Hoheitsgebiet geflogen sind. Auf der Strecke zwischen Belarus und Ukraine muss man dort jedenfalls nicht vorbei. Das heißt, es ist davon auszugehen, dass es eine absichtlich durchgeführte Aktion war.
Meanwhile, UK Defence Minister John Healey has said Britain will support Poland as part of NATO. He noted UK troops and Typhoon jets have previously served in Poland and are ready to bolster air defence. Listen in.
And my message to Marcin and the Polish people is this. As your NATO ally, we will support you, our Polish friends. As your NATO ally, we will play our part to help secure the safety of your people. And following our discussions today, I've asked our UK armed forces to look at options to bolster NATO's air defence over Poland. Today, as E5 nations, we say to President Putin, your aggression only serves to strengthen the unity between our NATO nations. Your aggression only serves to strengthen our determination to stand with Ukraine.
Meanwhile, breaking news coming in. Canada's foreign minister has condemned Moscow's alleged attack on Poland. Anita Anand has slammed Putin. She has stated that Russia's action is yet another horrendous example of President Putin's refusal to seek peace. She said overnight Russian drones violated Polish and NATO airspace during an attack on Ukraine. Anand called for a strong response from allied nations, stressing the need to defend European airspace and hold Moscow accountable for its aggression. Meanwhile, Canadian PM Mark Carney has said that Canada is closely coordinating with Poland and the NATO allies. He has also stated that Russia's incursion into Polish airspace was reckless and escalatory. Mr. Reuben Johnson, Director, Asia Research Centre, with us on the broadcast. Mr. Johnson, there is now growing support for Poland and its demands for a talk. What exactly do you make of the statements that are coming out of Europe at this point in time and now also Canada?
Let me backtrack a little bit here. You have to understand that this attack of these drones flying into Polish airspace in such large numbers, this is not something which is taking place in and of by itself in a vacuum. Back in July, one of the attacks by the Russians on Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, one of their drones hit the Polish embassy. And then later on in the month, another attack on the Ukrainian city of Vinnytsia, in which 3 different drones flying on 3 different vectors. So this was deliberate. They targeted a very large industrial facility in Vinnytsia, which was not military at all. It was a civilian company that makes wooden flooring and other wooden paneling and other wood products. But it was a Polish company and it belongs to the richest man in all of Poland. So the Russians are trying very, very clearly to provoke the Poles. And everybody knows this. Anyone who's in the national security business knows that whole backstory. And they're fed up. And so that's why you're getting this reaction you're getting today. Because they realize that this is getting to the point where we could have Article 5 declared next. And that means war between Russia and NATO.
Mr. Rubin, do you really think that it's going to reach that point, that Article 5 could be invoked?
I would say chances are at least 50% better today than they were yesterday.
All right. We leave it there. Ms. Reuben Johnson, thank you for joining us on NewsXWorld with that perspective. Meanwhile, in other news, France has sworn in a new Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, the fifth to take office in less than 2 years. A close ally of President Emmanuel Macron and former Defense Minister, Lecornu faces an immediate political storm as protests sweep the country. France's Interior Minister has reported nearly 200 arrests and around 50 clearance operations to remove blockades disrupting ring roads, depots, trams and buses nationwide during the Block Everything protest. Listen in.
Qu'il y a une tentative soit de blocage ou de faits de violence, de faits délictuels, alors nos forces de sécurité intérieure ont une consigne, c'est d'intervenir, c'est d'être rapide, d'être agile. Et au moment où je vous parle, nous avons eu près de 200 interpellations avec une cinquantaine d'actions de déblocage qui concernent aussi bien des rocades, des voies, qui concernent de dépôts, trams, bus, etc., sur l'ensemble du territoire.
Warehouse in south of Paris in support of workers demanding higher wages. Around 200 demonstrators sought to block deliveries, but police prevented disruptions. The Block Everything movement, rooted in widespread frustration over austerity, has sparked protests and clashes across France, drawing comparison to the 2018 Yellow Vest demonstrations. Listen in.
Une dynamique qui s'est créée, qui s'est auto-organisée. C'est vraiment un mouvement citoyen qui s'est organisé. Moi, en tout cas, je serai là jusqu'au bout, personnellement, pour pouvoir lutter et pour en fait vraiment faire passer le message qu'on n'en peut plus et que Macron doit partir. C'est lui la cause de tout ça.
And we leave it there and shift our focus to breaking news coming in. Israel has launched an airstrike on Yemen's capital, Sanaa, targeting Houthis. This marks the second attack on the site in a month. Israeli officials said the attack was in response to recent missile launches by Houthi forces towards Israel, none of which caused casualties or damage. There are no immediate reports of casualties or damage from the latest strike either. We're now learning that Israel is targeting Houthi rebels in Yemen. This is right after Israel decided to attack Hamas leadership in Qatar. It seems that Israel is continuing its offensive beyond the city of Gaza. Just yesterday, we had heard about an attack on Hamas leadership in Qatar, and today we're learning that Israel has launched a fresh airstrike on Yemen's capital, Sanaa, targeting the Houthi rebels. Meanwhile, France has sworn in a new Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, the fifth to take office in less than 2 years. A close ally of President Emmanuel Macron and former Defense Minister, Lecornu faces an immediate political storm as protests sweep the country. France's Interior Minister has reported nearly 200 arrests and around 50 clearance operations to remove blockades, disrupting its ring roads, depots, trams and buses nationwide during the Block Everything protests. Listen in. Let's quickly listen in to the soundbite before we move on to our guest.
Parce que c'est nous qui produisons les richesses. Donc on ne peut pas accepter qu'à chaque fois, voilà, qu'il y a de gros bénéfices qui sont réalisés et que voilà, nous puissions être à chaque fois les absents quoi, en ce qui concerne la répartition des richesses. Donc ce que nous voulions que les salaires... que nos salaires puissent augmenter.
I have Ms. Alison Mutler, former AP Bureau Chief, with us on the broadcast. Ms. Mutler, I have to understand from you, what do you make of the current situation in France?
Well, I think there's a lot of social and also political instability. The French President Emmanuel Macron has had 5 prime ministers in the last 18 months. There's a lot of anger, public anger over the austerity measures. They are been brought in by the government because they need to trim the budget. They need to trim public spending, but they're affecting your average French person. And there's a lot of public anger. The protests are being fueled by the extreme left, extreme right, by anarchists. And France is a country with a history of violent protests and riots. So it's not unexpected, but it's a big headache for the government, for the new incoming government, that they will have to deal with this anger and decide how they can present the austerity package to the French people so the situation will calm down. But I do know that the Interior Minister has deployed, I think it was 80,000 personnel around France. So they're taking it very seriously. As you said in your introduction, they had the Yellow Vest protest in 2018. So they do have experience of this, but the public anger is not going to go away when we have these severe public spending cuts, which affect the average French person. And as your soundbite said, why do the rich people have more money and we have less money? That they want to have wages that keep pace with rising prices.
Absolutely. Ms. Matla, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with that perspective. In other parts of the world, in Nepal, more than 13,500 prisoners have broken out of jails nationwide during the violent anti-government protests this week. Police confirmed 3 officers were killed in the unrest. Amid the chaos, protesters have named Nepal's first woman chief, Justice Sushila Karki, as their representative for talks with the army on forming an interim government. Meanwhile, Army Chief General Ashok Raj has already held consultations with youth protest leaders. After demonstrators had forced Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to resign. The protests, triggered by a controversial social media ban, have widened into a mass call to end entrenched corruption, with at least 25 killed and a nationwide curfew imposed till Thursday. The future of Nepal currently remains unknown. Dr. Satoru Nagao, fellow at the Hudson Institute, joins us on the broadcast. Dr. Nagao, what is your understanding of the current situation in Nepal?
It is an ironical situation because the banning the SNS is the purpose of such kind of the policy is the government want to control the people. That's why they choose such kind of policy. So that's why the result of this protest after the government tried to ban the SNS, completely opposite. The turmoil has happened. So instead of the controlling the people. So exploiting the new technology is a good way, but banning or refusing the new technology is one kind of the impossible way to achieve. So that's why it has proved. But at the same time, currently the army hasn't achieved to restore the law and order situation, despite they try to cooperate with the leading people of the protesters. This means that this is not just a turmoil as a result of the policy. Indeed, a little bit of panic has happened because of the various complaints against the current order in the Nepal. So that's why the people in Nepal should be the worry, and indeed people in the world should worry about Nepal, because this is a very serious this could be the very serious law and order situation soon.
But at the same time, Mr. Nagao, this region has particularly seen a lot of violent overtakes of governments in the past few years. Do you see that there is some sort of a pattern in Asia at this point in time?
Unfortunately, you are right, and there are many turmoil in Asia, that's true. And even in South Asia, there are many, so that's true. But at the same time, because of India, this region are relatively stable. That is also true. India is stable, and other countries face a problem, but maybe in most cases it's turning down. The situation becoming stable after the turmoil, and because the stable country is located in South Asia, which is India. So that is a good point, I think.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Nagar, for joining us on the broadcast with that perspective. Meanwhile, Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun has spoken to his U.S. counterpart Pete Hegseth via video call. During the conversation, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made it clear that the United States does not seek conflict with China. A Pentagon spokesman said that Hegseth emphasized the U.S. is not pursuing regime change or strangulating the People's Republic of China. At the same time, he made it clear that the U.S. has vital interests in the Asia-Pacific region. The conversation was described as candid and constructive, with both sides agreeing to continue discussions. Mr. Scott Faulkner, head of Eagle Enterprises, joins us on the broadcast. Mr. Faulkner, your first thoughts on this candid conversation that's taken place between the U.S. and China?
Well, Hegseth is saying the right things. I mean, while in our heart of hearts we'd love to have China change into a much better actor on the world stage and certainly in the region, we're going to say publicly and also privately, that they do not have anything to fear from us as long as they're not invading Taiwan. And so it's standard diplomatic speak, so to speak, to try to make sure things don't escalate in that region. So it's standard procedure, so to speak.
At the same time, Mr. Faulkner, where exactly do you think somewhere the defense discussions between the U.S. and China are headed, given that there continues to be a stalemate as far as some of the the tariffs are concerned?
The U.S. is again trying to pursue what we call a reshoring or onshoring of our supply chain, and that's been a standard policy in Trump too, which is that we want to wean America away from the Chinese supply chain, especially in the pharmaceutical area, where over 80% of our pharmaceuticals still come from China. We also are trying to rebuild the United States is trying to rebuild its industrial capacity. And of course, we're back to the issue with India, that where it makes economic sense to move industrial production back to the United States directly. Where it doesn't, we want to reshore to places like India, the Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia. And so so we're going to continue to pursue those kind of America first economic policies to basically undermine China economically, but mostly strengthen America economically. And that's, again, that's been sort of part and parcel of the Trump approach to China from day one.
Absolutely. Mr. Faulkner, thank you so much for joining us on NewsXWorld. Meanwhile, we have some breaking news coming in. We are bringing in more updates on Israel's airstrike on Yemen's capital Sanaa, targeting Houthis. Yemen state TV has said that several people have been killed and wounded in the Israeli attack. This marks the second attack on the site in a month. Israeli officials have said that the attack was in response to recent missile launches by Houthi forces towards Israel, none of which caused casualties or damage. And with that, we slip into a very short break.